Well, following the Christmas and New Year break, properties are starting to come onto the market, and any auctions that were listed over the holiday period are also due to take place. While numbers are still low, this week Sydney will hold 54 auctions, Melbourne 112, Brisbane 46 and Adelaide 43. And taking a look at some of the most viewed homes, we're going to start with 19 Galvin Avenue in New South Wales' Kellyville, which is a 5-bedroom home sitting on just over 550 square metres. It's a modern 2-storey dwelling offering a pool and outdoor entertaining area. 2 Jacksons Road, Chelsea in Victoria is a single-storey home with 3 bedrooms. The full brick built is close to schools and parks and perfect for anyone looking to move in or make a few improvements. 11 to 13 Gordon Street, Narangba in Queensland, which is just north of Brisbane, has a large land size of over 3,000 square metres. The home features 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and a massive 8 spaces for parking, as well as a pool area. 33 Ashburton Avenue, West Lakeshore in South Australia is a freestanding single-storey home on a 600 square metre block of land. This beautiful home is a move straight in and do what you like to it if you want. But this week's top listing was 33 Farrants Road, Farrants Hill in New South Wales. The home sits on the 4-acre block and it features 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It currently has no formal parking space, although the dwelling is perfectly capable of accommodating vehicles if needed. And I spoke with REA Group senior economist Anne Flaherty about how she sees the property sector playing out for 2024, and I began by asking her why new building starts have hit the lowest level in over a decade.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, at a time when we desperately need more housing, the speed at which we're delivering that new housing is starting to slow. So we have seen a real drop in the number of new housing starts, particularly for houses which are down around 20% over the past 12 months, units down around 10% over the past 12 months. Now, building costs are, of course, a massive issue that remain one of the key factors slowing down the supply of new housing. And we're also seeing that the speed it takes for new properties to be built is continuing to remain really, really long compared to what we were seeing pre-COVID.
Why are we seeing building approvals take so long?
Look, I think that there are a lot of factors at play. With interest rates so high at the moment, there's, often some developments are not actually feasible at the moment. So building approvals are actually your best case scenario of how many homes get built. We know, especially in the unit market, that there are a lot of projects that are approved to be built which aren't currently feasible in the current environment with building costs so high and interest rates so high. And of course, we are still seeing some labour constraints which are impacting timelines as well.
Now, and this week, properties, they've started to come back onto the market with auctions scheduled from early next month. Do you believe we'll see a large supply coming up for sale as last year's rate hikes and high inflation continue to sting Australians?
Look, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens over the next couple of months. Of course, January, it's always hard to get a picture of what's going to happen. The market's always very quiet. But if we look at the end of last year, we saw some interesting trends, and that was there was a big surge in properties for sale compared to 12 months ago in both Victoria and New South Wales. So buyers benefited from more choice in those markets. But on the other end of the spectrum, we had places like Adelaide and Perth and Hobart where the total number of homes hitting the market remained well down year on year. So I think that if we continue to see those trends, we might see it become more of a buyer's market in Melbourne and Sydney. And we might also continue to see it very much a seller's market in the other capital cities.
And the RBA, they'll meet for the first time this year in just over a fortnight. Do you believe interest rates will be raised?
Look, I think that the probability we'll see an interest rate hike in February is relatively low. Of course, it's going to come down to what the December inflation rate is at. We're all watching closely. But, from the monthly indicator, it looks like inflation is starting to come back down. And I think that, there would need to be a bit of a shock really for the Reserve Bank to go and push rates ahead again in February.
And the question on everyone's lips, will we see property prices increase? Will they remain stable or decrease this year? What do you believe?
I think a lot of it's going to come down to the supply of properties that are listed for sale. As I said, in Melbourne and Sydney, we saw a year-on-year rise in properties for sale over December, and that actually had the effect of slowing property prices. We saw some slight declines in those markets in December. On the other hand, those markets where we are continuing to see very subdued supply of properties for sale, we're going to see competition remain high, and that's going to push prices likely higher. I think as well, if we were to see interest rates decline towards the second half of the year, that would have the effect of increasing property prices as well by increasing the amount that people can borrow.
And Flaherty, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.